Hi, gang. Hello, hello. My favorite story of the day. My favorite story of the day has nothing to do with the summit tomorrow between Putin and Trump, nor $37 trillion in debt. We've now passed that threshold. Israel, Gaza, not even Taylor Swift. My favorite story of the day, it's in the newsletter today, is the punter from Australia now playing for Nebraska, who, by the way, will make his debut at Arrowhead Stadium in front of, I think, 77,000 people. And when asked at a presser, I assume you've seen this by now, but if not, when asked at a presser about, does he miss his family, he broke down in tears. I couldn't think of a poll question on this Thursday other than, do real men cry or some such thing. But believe me, I wanted to. I wanted to. The Thursday poll question: will the war between Russia and Ukraine end within the next 6 months? Within the next 6 months. And I mean end, I don't mean a ceasefire. I'll talk about that in a moment. 1 week from tonight, Joe Ellis comes to Parks Casino. I was just going back and forth with her by email because she will be on next Thursday's program. And the issue is, can I welcome her as the first in-studio guest in the new studio? I don't know, because the wiring is just not finished yet. But your opportunity to go and watch and laugh with Joe is next Thursday, $25 admission at Parks Casino, and you get a free drink. I have been to one of these Joe Conklin comedy nights at Parks Casino. They're terrific. It's a great mingling opportunity. It's fun. It's relatively inexpensive, and it's a nice night out. And you get a lot of entertainment. I think the night that I was there, I saw 5 different performances in the span of, an hour. So it's a really fun night. And you know Joe's story. So she's been through a lot. 16 years, Army National Guard, now being drummed out of the military because she's trans. And of course, there was the whole story with the Reagan airport. I didn't even feel like telling the thing again because it's just so terrible. And Joe, used to be a part of our family as the editor of the Smerconish.com newsletter. Tony Hinchcliffe gave her a break on a Kill Tony episode recently. And now she's pursuing a comedy career. And it includes opening at Parks Casino a week from tonight for national headliner Ian Lara. And of course, Joe Conklin. So should be a lot of fun. August 21. Am I right about that? Yeah. August 21, 8 p.m. Parks Casino. You've got to get your tickets. parkscasino.com/entertainment. And when you go there, look for the comedy tab. It ought to be obvious, but look for the comedy tab and you'll be able to click on it and buy a ticket. $25, you get a free drink. I also wanted to say that I put that link on my Facebook page to make it easy. Okay. Got to be 21. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. I was thrilled yesterday with the poll question, the conversation, the result. I kind of took a flyer on this one. We had 31,600 votes. Makes me a little suspicious, that rounded off number, 31,600. If we're 31,599, I wouldn't be saying anything. But I went down a rabbit hole. I explained this all yesterday, read an editorial in the Wall Street Journal. Then I read some comments. One of the comments said, hey, did you see the Meghan McArdle column in the Washington Post? I went and read the Meghan McArdle column. In it, she references an academic study that I found interesting. I went to the study. The net effect was the poll question yesterday. Agree or disagree? America is under-policed and over-incarcerated. In essence, the U.S. criminal justice system is characterized by a mismatch, according to this theory. We've got too few police to adequately deter or address violent crime, but we are overly punitive in our incarceration policies. In other words, the nation relies too much on tough sentencing. That's always our rote response. That's what Jeanine Pirro is doing right now in Washington, and too little on consistent enforcement and detection. And the academics responsible for this idea, who published 3 years ago, Christopher Lewis and Adner Usmani, still looking forward to getting them on the program. That's the theory that they advanced. So I tried my best yesterday to summarize it and then ask whether you agreed with it, 66.76%, truly 2/3 said yes, they agree that America is under-policed and over-incarcerated. All right, tomorrow, the big summit, Putin and Trump in Anchorage. Admiral Stavridis on today's radio program. Looking forward to talking to him about this. I was going back and forth with Admiral Stav yesterday, and I said, hey, I want to do a poll question on the summit, and we were playing with the idea of who will win, quote unquote win. I'm not doing that because I know it would be like a 99-1 result of people would say Putin's going to eat his lunch. After all, I think that's what Kamala Harris said, right? I'm not so sure that's the case. Trump is no fool. Trump is no fool. He certainly knows the perception is that Putin is, the better in this kind of a scenario. But I'm not so sure. And David Ignatius wrote something in the New York Times today that tethered with what I'm thinking. Anyway, where are we? So they're going to be in Anchorage. I don't know the exact time. I've gone looking for it. It impacts me, not so much for the radio show, but because of CNN and the way in which it's going to go potentially into the night. I saw a reference made to 11 on whose time. I'm not so sure. So I only know that CNN is like all in, and I'm sure the other networks will be as well, with their coverage Friday for the entire evening, and then they're upending the lineup on Saturday as well. So it's going to be big. It's going to be big, and how long it lasts and what it yields, we don't know. It'll be on a military base in Anchorage. There won't be President Zelensky. He won't be there. European leaders yesterday participated at a conference with Trump and with Zelensky. They want to be involved. They also want there to be a ceasefire initially. Trump says this is just a precursor to Zelensky and Putin sitting down, which could happen in short order. And the White House has tried, as I said to Mark Halpern yesterday, to lessen expectations, almost as if it's a debate. Caroline Levitt calling it a listening session, I think she said yesterday. So big areas of disagreement. I mean, as I think about it, there are two major impediments. One are the boundaries and the other are the security guarantees. What will those final boundaries look like? Trump is open to a land swap, but he doesn't have the authority, right, to make a decision as a technical matter on behalf of Ukraine. And then there are the security guarantees, NATO, military presence, what comes thereafter, so that in 5 years, Ukraine doesn't find itself exactly back in this situation. I'm interested to see the body language. In fact, I've got to remember to speak to my CNN folks and inquire as to a body language expert in case we want to read how they size one another up when they walk in. Do they smile? What does that greeting look like? Trump, of course, emasculated Zelensky was that February? I think in February. But more recently has been more harsh with regard to his treatment of Putin. More arms sale. He criticized the bombardment of Ukrainian cities as being, quote unquote, disgraceful and disgusting. And a month ago, I think for like the first time, he directly criticized Putin. Still, the comments, when I read the comments appended to the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, I get things like Kamala was right. Putin will eat Trump for lunch. Or Trump will give away the farm, Ukraine's farm, or what kind of peace negotiation is it where one of the parties is not even represented? It's a conference of two dictators. That's what kind. But here's a slightly different take from David Ignatius, pretty bright guy, and offered the following. I would guess, writes David Ignatius, that Trump won't be so pliable or passive as some of the pre-summit commentary suggests. He has spoken for more than a year about his passion for ending what he calls a bloodbath. He's become increasingly frustrated that Putin has been stringing him along and ignoring his requests for compromise. And in Trump's mind, at least, he has flipped the script. Compared with his last meeting with Putin in 2019, he's far stronger and Putin is much weaker. So my poll question asked whether within 6 months this conflict comes to an end. I don't mean a ceasefire after, there's a follow-up between Zelensky and Putin. I mean, is there some type of a final agreement that ends the fighting between Russia and Ukraine within 6 months? My head says no, my heart says yes. So I'm going with my heart. I am going with my heart. I don't know that. I know Putin wants to get back in the good graces of the West, probably relishes the opportunity, perceived as a war criminal, to now step foot in the United States. Still, I don't think he's coming to embarrass Trump. And I am discounting all of these critiques that say Trump is just about to give away the farm. I think the only way peace comes is if Ukraine does allow Russia to keep some of the spoils of war. But I think that would happen on anybody's watch. So, yeah, I mean, like all of you, I wish Ukraine were in NATO and Russia had to give it all back. But now ask me if I want American boots on the ground so as to bring that about, and the answer is no. That's really not an answer to the poll question, but my direct answer to the poll question is a yes vote. I will go out on a limb on this 14th of August, 2025, and answer the question affirmatively. Will the war between Russia and Ukraine end within the next 6 months? Fingers crossed, I am a yes vote. Go vote at Smerconish.com. I know there'll be heavy voting on this one. It is straightforward, it's simple, and everybody's got an opinion. Will the war between Russia and Ukraine end within the next 6 months? Cast your ballot at Smerconish.com. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Set yourself up for notifications. And if you're listening only to the podcast and not watching, every Monday through Friday morning at 8 a.m. and then 7:30 on Saturday mornings before the CNN program, I'm here on YouTube and released as a podcast talking about the poll question of the day. It's a Thursday. Give TC some play for TC After Dark. Remember that I have a book club podcast Monday, Wednesday, and Friday we release. And Monday through Saturday, we release a podcast as well, predicated on or based on some part of the radio program. Thank you, everybody. Go vote on the poll question. Have a good day.